Okay, and so I will do this fire making with this rock. Of course, I'll talk, Mike will talk, and ask questions. Again, we actually have a multi-purpose tool here. Because the first thing you do, he's holding it up. In the New World, all wood on wood was by drilling. There was no fire saw, no fire plow, no fire thong. Everything in the New World was drilling. And we're going to show you the 3 prehistoric drilling methods here today. The very first one,
they all use these same steps to start with.
The first step is to gouge the wood. Just put a gouge in it, like this. Pretty decent gouge. That's where you're going to do your first drilling. My drilling style is really ancient California. They knelt. Almost all cultures that I'm aware of in prehistory of California and early, or what we call proto-history, knelt. And they would put the board between their legs here and drill slight angle like that. I'm going to put it out here so you can see it a little better. And a lot of people at this point who have not seen this done say, well, what do you put in there? You don't put anything in there. You use really low density woods. These woods are very low density. I have northern white cedar here. Somewhere in here I have a piece of root from, where is that? I have root from,
you want to be able to sense it with your thumbnail.
This is root from cottonwood. But if you look at the display of fire boards, the base boards, they're all very low density and they're dry. They're non-resinous. That's the preference for me. And you notice I put a lot of emphasis on roots. Because roots are generally, I can't drill into a piece of mesquite wood, but I can drill into a mesquite root. They're definitely a less dense wood. I don't tend to use the word soft wood because to the biologists here, soft has another meaning. Soft means hardwood is deciduous, and soft is coniferous.
Evergreen.
Yeah. So.
No, not like willow, like firs and pine.
Okay.
Salt cedar be considered a conifer?
Salt cedar, I would think that'd be a conifer, but I'm not sure. All I know is a very invasive species that's just destroying the West. I'm an old guy. I'm 70. I don't have a lot of weight on me, as you can see, 140 pounds. So I have to sneak up on things like the hand drill or the fire saw. And so I have all these little shortcuts you may not see guys like Alan doing. One of them is I've drilled with this drill, so it's black. So I'll take some kind of abrasive, and I'll take that black off of there. I consider it kind of like fire hardening, and I consider that helpful.
Using our multi-tool.
I've already gouged. Now I put saliva on my. Ignore the finger. I fell on a hike the week before last and broke it, but I think I can keep it out of the way. I put saliva on my hands because as I start to spin, I'm also pushing down, and so as the saliva gets tacky, that's when I jump on the drill. And I will drill 2 or 3 times. I want to see smoke. And a lot of people think, well, the reason you want that first step to second step is to position the hole. No, for me, it's to test the wood to see if it's got humidity in it or not. This is a whole separate approach if this wood has humidity in it.
Super. It does define the hole, and it drives out any humidity just in there, hopefully.
See, I'm getting a touch of smoke.
Yeah.
Okay, that tells me probably the board is not humid, or not humid enough to get in the way. Now I'll take my multi-tool again. In fact, we'll sell this to someone when we're finished.
If you look at this fireboard, you see there's a ring of dust around that divot.
Yeah. What's happening is the low-density wood is disintegrating. The lower the density of this wood, this is for all the people who are interested in hand drilling especially, the lower the density of this wood, the quicker it disintegrates into a powder. The finer the powder, and the lower the ignition level. I've had ignition levels on some low-density woods as low as 200 degrees. That's putting a thermocouple into the notch and drilling until I get an ember, and somebody else monitoring the temperature on a pyrometer. And we had a couple embers actually popped at 200 degrees. Can you imagine that? By popping an ember, I'm talking about the dust entered a sustained chain reaction. I was able to step back, and it continued consuming itself as an ember until all the dust was burned away. So it's a different level than fire. A smolder point is much lower than a fire point. I found that out by accident. I put a couple fireboards in the oven just to dry them out a little bit. Next thing you know, the fire department showed up and my alarm went off. And what had happened is I had it at 400 degrees and the wood actually caught fire. Couldn't believe it. And then there was smoke all over the place, kitchen and everything. And I got a warning from the fire department one more time, and I'm paying for the next trip. You know, all that kind of stuff.
Domestic tranquility went out the window.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I caught more help from my wife than I did the fire department.
Okay, now he's making a notch. The purpose of that notch is if this dust just builds up around here, it doesn't get hot enough, and the notch collects the dust and focuses the heat into one specific point. So without the notch, you could drill and drill and drill, and you get a lot of dust, but you'd never get it hot enough to enter a sustained chain reaction.
Now, there are people that play with that. They call it notchless fire, just for the challenge of it. But you end up getting an awful lot of dust all around where you're drilling. And efficiency-wise, it's not a good way to do fire. So there's my notch. I tend to make them a little wider at the bottom to allow more room for dust.
Dovetail shape. That way you collect more. You get more dust in the notch where the heat is.
I need a fire.
Oh, a tinder bundle. Let's talk about tinder bundles. All right. What is the regular? All right. Okay. Tinder bundle is your ember is never going to burst into flames. All it's going to do is smolder like the end of a cigarette. So we need to somehow get this from an ember into flames, and that's what our tinder bundle is for. And it's made out of very fibrous material. In this case, what we're using is inner bark from rotten cottonwood trees. Very fibrous, very flammable. And we have a little bit of juniper bark in the center, which gives it a kickstart.
Yeah, juniper is very flammable, but it doesn't fold into a nest quite.
It doesn't make a good nest.
I got a little piece of juniper bark here only because I want to keep all the dust from kind of getting into the concrete and all. Especially if the concrete were cold. In this case, it's not.
You have to have something to collect your ember.
Yeah, so I can pick it up and transfer it. Some cultures actually would dig a hole in the ground, put this in the hole, put the board on top, and then drill. But if they do that, you need that welcome mat in here, or all the dust filters through, and you're drilling 2, 3 times as long to get an ember. So you got to make sure if you like that method. In fact, I think they teach that method to Tom Brown too. You dig a gouge and put it in there. And you do need a little welcome mat there to keep all that ember from filtering all the way through. Anything else I left out?
No.
Okay. Again, old man technique. I drill nice and easy. Look for smoke. I do not hammer. I can hold a conversation in the initial part of the drilling. But then when I see smoke, then I'll hammer it. Then I can't talk anymore. I'm not like a Cody Lundy that just jumps right down here and whack, 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 or like an Allen Halcon that just jumps down here, whack, whack, and I have to sneak up on it. And I think this is good for a lot of you because we're not all like Allen.
Alan's not like Alan.
Okay, let's see what happens.
When you're doing hand drilling, you're using muscles that are very rarely used, so you do need to practice, develop the strength and the muscle memory. After you do it, the more you do it, the better you will get at it.
And get the smoke, another easy one. Well, this time I start to talk to the drill. Who's your daddy? Okay, see I have an ember there. Notice the first 2 or 3 passes were nice and easy. I had heat, I had smoke, I had dust, and then I hammered it. I sneak up on it.
I think that was quicker than Alan. Oh, hi, Alan.
As you're doing that, do not take your drill out of your hole, otherwise it will pull down and you have to start all over again from the very beginning.
Yeah, knock the ember off the plate. Maybe I can get it. Yeah, maybe I can save it. what's
Smaller, but
smoking.
it's still there.
Yeah. We also got to bring the coffee can. We can fill these in.
I'll just stop on it when you're done.
Yeah.
There's a metal dish out there.
That's got water in it. Belongs to somebody. I don't want to just take it. I saw that back there. But
And I like to say, some of you have heard me say this before, this is so easy a caveman can do it. Now,
what do you guys think of the Pistons?
we can talk about the Pistons.
That's called taxpayer.
Outstanding. Okay, now this is the only method that was found on every inhabited continent of the world. Even Australia, if you go around and look at the cultures on the outer ring of Australia, most of them were hand drilled.